right. If you ever take physics, you will do this type of thing in physics. Most of you, or probably some of you, will at least take physics. I think it's interesting. It's science. No, it's not physical science. It's just physics.
What's it like?
It's the most math-based.
Is that like motion and stuff? Like a bunch of formulas and stuff?
It has a lot of formulas, yeah. But you don't usually have to memorize them in physics.
Oh, it sounds good.
Yeah. In college, every single physics test, they gave us all of our formulas that we would need. Now, whether you know how to use the formulas, that's where you demonstrated what you knew. So you will do this kind of thing in physics if you ever take it. So step by step, what to do to add vectors. You're going to start by writing each vector in rectangular form. What is rectangular form? The R's and the U's. Do y'all remember those? Something like that is a vector. And then you'll put it in that form. Does that make sense? Okay. You're going to add the horizontal components to get the sum of the horizontal components. Is your R or your U the horizontal part? The R. So you're going to add your R's together. And then you're going to add your vertical components to get the sum of the vertical components. So let's look at an example. Flying arrow left the village and traveled 20 miles on a heading of 20 degrees. From that point, he traveled 40 miles on a heading of 210 degrees. How far did he end up from the village? That's the direction he went.
But how did you go in direction? Like in a circle? Is it on the map? Like starts right here and then goes like that?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like on the map and it's like 120 degrees and then you find like a grid.
We're going to go over it. I'm waiting for y'all to write it down. Do y'all ever hear people say, look at your 10 o'clock or your 6 o'clock or whatever? If you're standing here, what is your 6 o'clock? Behind you. Because if you put a clock around you, Yeah, where would your 10 o'clock be?
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be on your, above your, like, to your left, but like diagonal. Does that make sense? And it depends on which way you're turned as to where your 10 o'clock and your 6 o'clock are, right? Okay, so the 20 degrees. They're going 20 miles at 20 degrees, right? Does that make sense? It doesn't matter where he's turned. He's going to just, wherever he's going, he's just going to go out 20 degrees. Yeah, I don't, it's supposed to look like that. I don't know how to make, yeah. I don't know how to do it on the computer. The smartboard has very limited math symbols. So if he starts here, we're just going to make that our origin. And where is 20 degrees? He's just going to go this way. Does that make sense? Obviously, no, that's not really 20 degrees. It's just somewhere in the first quadrant. Because you start over here, and then you go counterclockwise, yeah, until you get to 20 degrees.
You always draw it to the line.
Yeah, to the x-axis. Yeah, you always start in the first quadrant whenever you're doing these, and go counterclockwise. You always want to go to the x-axis. Does that make sense on this one? Okay. For this one, (210 degrees). I'm going to go this way. Have I hit 210 yet? Okay. This is 30 degrees. Does everyone see why that is 30? Yes. You went 180 and then you had to go 30 degrees more to get to 210. Any questions on drawing them? Okay. Now what do we do? Oh yeah. We gotta find going backwards. Does that make sense? Okay, so see if you can find your R by yourself. Do you remember how to do that? Yes. Do the one on the left first. Do what?
She's obviously 14 and not gonna have a heart attack.
I had a friend in college that had a heart attack and died. And when I was younger, a family friend died in his sleep from a heart attack. Yep. It does happen.
How did that happen? How did it happen so young?
I don't know. She had a heart attack and she was sleeping and no one saw her. Yeah, I mean, she was asleep and she had a heart attack and died.
I'm so scared.
I don't know. I mean, the fact that she didn't yell out to her parents or call anybody, like, she obviously just, like, didn't know it happened. All right, any ideas what you would get for your R? Do you agree? Do you agree with those two? Do I need to go over how to get those? Any questions on that part? Okay, see if you can do the R and the U on the second one. Hold your breath. Yeah.
I would have literally passed out if she would have actually had a heart attack.
I would have told y'all go find the, like, someone go call the nurse, someone call 911.
I just be standing here
Two
like.
people on the floor like. You don't know that.
My first year teaching, I had a girl that found out she was allergic to peanuts during the middle of the year, and she brought her EpiPen, and I was like, don't ever expect me to be able to give that to you. I would if it had been used. I don't like needles. All right, what do you get for your R? It is negative. What do you get for your U? Yeah. And is it positive or negative? Negative. Does that make sense? Basically, yes. If you draw them always to the x-axis. Any questions on the R's and the U's so far? Okay, so we found our R's and we found our U's. That was the first step. What's the next step? What? Look back at your steps.
Oh my God, you get the average.
Try to find the R and the horizontal.
Can you make it a decimal on there?
18.
Yeah, just make it a decimal. That is what it is. Add the R's. $89? No, 85, yeah. Any questions on the R?
But I'm confused on why we did.
What were the steps? Good. Yes, so add the U's. Do you agree with the U?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the problem. He started at the village. And where did he go? He went that way, right? And then from there, what did he do? He went, this was 20, and he went this way, 40, right? So is he going to end up below the village or still above it? Because he only went 20 this way, and then he went 40 down. Does that make sense? And if you look, what does that mean? Left, right, up, down? Left, and then down, right? Is that kind of what my picture looks like? He went left and down from the village? Does that make sense?
So that's just a way to check for
Yeah, it's just to see, does my answer look like it's close?
Okay.
The R is a bigger absolute number. That's just how the numbers ended up. Any questions on this one? So all it's asking, and if it said what direction did he go, well, what is this direction? So which direction was he? He was southwest from the village. Does that make sense? Any questions there? Sometimes they'll ask which direction did he go. All right, let's look at another example. This, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how far away he was. Unless it tells you, write it in polar. It didn't specify, so if you had found it in polar, that'd be fine. Okay, looking at this one. With these, whenever it just gives them to you and it tells you to add them, whatever form it gives you, that's the form you want your answer to be in. Does that make sense? So if we want it back in polar form whenever we write our answer. Okay. So you get it? Okay. These two to draw them, or to go back into? Okay, we'll go over that. We'll go over that. Well, let's see if everybody can get it into rectangular form by themselves. Okay? It is. You got to change them to rectangular and add them together and then change it back to polar. like
Oh, yeah, I had that switch. Any questions there? Any questions on that part? Okay, so that's the first step.
What do you do next? Okay, someone want to go write what they get? Go. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Do you agree? Are you really close? Okay. Is that our final answer?
That's what I know. It has to go back into polar form.
It has to be in polar form. Okay, so this is the part some of y'all said y'all are confused about. What quadrant will this be in? The top right. Because you go over 7.36 and then you go up 26.3. Does that make sense? Yeah. We need to find the hypotenuse and this angle. How do you find the hypotenuse? Pythagorean theorem, yes. So find your hypotenuse. They're normally going to go to 2 decimal places, I think. Yeah, that's fine. Any questions there? Okay. How are we going to find the angle? Tangent. What is the tangent of the angle? What is the opposite? Does that make sense? How do we find the angle? Some of you already said it. We do what? Inverse. Tangent inverse. $74.77. 37. Okay. Any questions on that part? Y'all understand how to get the hypotenuse and the angle? That's fine. Okay, so when you are looking for your angle, you always start in the positive on the x-axis. When we go, we just went 74.37. Since it's in the first quadrant, you don't do anything. You just take your angle. Does that make sense? However, had it been in the second quadrant, we start over here. How far are we going to go to get there? 150. This whole thing is 180 degrees, right? So we went 180, but we didn't go 30 of it, so 150 degrees. Does that make sense? And that's what you have to do. Based on what quadrant you're in, you have to either add or subtract it. Yes? What goes where? Look up here. Because it has a little degree sign. Does that make sense? So what would we write for our answer? Does that make sense? Any questions? Any questions on these? Do you understand them?